to be reviewing Godzilla. I saw a sneak peek on Thursday night and was extremely excited. I'm a big fan of monster movies, like I've mentioned in our podcast, so I was really looking forward to it. I'm going to start, before I get into the movie, with our Fangirl drink. So I'm going to be recreating a green lizard martini in honor of my favorite big green lizard, Godzilla. The way to make one of these great drinks is with 1 ounce of vodka, half an ounce of triple sec, half an ounce of Midori, and half a squeezed lime. It's really delicious, refreshing, and it has this awesome green hue that's perfect for the theme. And it's yummy! Okay, so on to the movie. I really enjoyed Godzilla, but I thought that it had some weak points, especially towards the end. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but there'll be a few tidbits. So if you want to go in clean to the movie, then stop watching right now. First off, the casting was great, I thought, in the movie. The acting was amazing. Our leading man, which they didn't really make it seem like he would be our leading man in the trailers, is actually the same guy from Kick-Ass. And he did a great job. I didn't recognize him until after the fact when I looked him up because I thought he did so great. I guess he grew up. He's extremely adorable, great eye candy, and he was just a phenomenal actor. He really did a great job portraying a man who lost his mother in a really awful situation, who's trying to understand his father and his motives, and is trying to be a good father himself. So he did a really great job. Aside from the acting, the CGI was completely amazing. The monsters look great. Godzilla is everything you'd hope he would be. They didn't have him come out right away, so they built the anticipation, which I really enjoyed. I know other people are complaining that it felt like almost half the movie for Godzilla to appear, but I like that. I really like that in monster movies because it builds anxiety, it makes everything more tense, and that's what monster movies are about. So I really enjoyed that they prolonged Godzilla's big entrance, and it was totally worth it when he was introduced. It was as momentous as you would expect it to be. I actually saw Godzilla in 3D. I usually opt out of 3D when I'm watching movies. I may be in the minority, but they make me nauseous, they make me sick. For an hour after the movie, I have the worst headache, so I try not to do movies in 3D, but I had no choice. Since it was an advanced screening, the only option was 3D. But I have to say, they did a really great job. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't a whole lot. Maybe it has to do with the camera work too, that it wasn't too jostled or crazy. But it didn't make me sick. I really enjoyed it. My favorite moment of the 3D, which funny enough was the intro when you see just like little flecks of dust falling around the title sequence. I really loved it. I think it brought something cool and unique to the intro. Now what I've heard so far that people have been complaining about the movie is that they don't like the fact that there's a lot of first-person views of the monsters. I loved it. I liked that there was a whole lot of people, what you were seeing was people in their cars and the windshield wipers going back and forth and then catching a glimpse of a foot or a tail or some sort of destruction from the monsters. I really, really enjoyed that. Again, it builds the anticipation and not everything has to be revealed. I like the mystery being left, some sort of mystery. There is one amazing scene which I loved. It was a huge fight sequence at the end, and our main character is dropping from a helicopter, and he drops right into the middle of a huge fight between Godzilla and one of the baddies, and it was just beautifully shot. I liked that they kept the fight sequence at that point hidden from you, and you could only see what he could see, and I enjoyed that. I thought it was a really amazing way to portray a fight scene. But when we're going to talk about fight scenes, it just went on too long. The final fight was forever. It felt like forever. It felt like it was 15 minutes of destruction and unnecessary blows. Like, I got disinterested, and it bums me out because the rest of the movie was really great, but I feel like it lost steam towards the end, and that epic, long battle scene was a little bit too epic and long. I won't give anything away, but the last few moments of the fight scene were great. They were actually very emotional and beautifully shot, and you just couldn't help but cheer. Here in Miami, not a lot of people get into movies and cheer and clap, but I've heard in other cities, like, people were out of their seats clapping, standing ovations. I felt like doing that, but I didn't want to be the only idiot in the movie theater that did. But yeah, the final moves were fantastic. You have all the usual Godzilla traits, the breathing atomic breath, the roars, everything's perfect in those final moments. But everything that led up to it, all the fight sequences, were a little dull and boring. There's only so many buildings that I could see wiped out by Tails, and a bunch of fight sequences that just weren't necessary. I didn't need to see 15 punches that didn't equate to anything. Like, show me a punch and someone's head flies off. Can we do that? I mean, that would have been a whole lot better, to me. I don't know. I know a lot of people were in it for the fight scenes and the action, which I am too, but I think that it needs to be dulled down a little bit. Kind of like Superman, Man of Steel. I also had issues with that movie because the last 15 minutes of the movie was just destruction and fights for apparently no reason. And I felt the same with Godzilla. Otherwise, the movie was fantastic. So I'm going to give it a fangirl thumb up and maybe a halvesy on the other. So 1.5 thumbs up over here for Godzilla. Definitely go watch it, especially if you're a fan of Godzilla, especially if you're a fan of monster movies. It's definitely something you have to check out. I would consider it a summer blockbuster. It was a great movie, acting was ace, visuals were ace. Just, if they could have cut off those last 20 minutes and condensed it down to 5, that would have been fantastic. So yeah, let us know what you thought of Godzilla in the comments. Cheers!